Yep. And here we go. Yeah. Once again, welcome to the Real Discussion with Rock Logic and my co-host, Gary. What's up, Gary?
Gary D.
What's up, ESP?
What's up, Rocky Doodle?
Yeah, we in the building and we're doing this new time slot. The new time slot now is we're doing Friday nights now, right? From 7 to 9. So we decided to swap out from the afternoon theme because we saw that a lot of people were tuned in on a Friday night. So we decided to do that. Before I get started into what today's topic is about, I just want to give a rest in peace to Diane Carroll, who passed away at 84.
Wow.
That happened. And also a big shout out to Bernie Sanders, who had a heart attack, and he's in the hospital. You know what I'm saying? I hope he gets better. Listen, Bernie's down.
What's going on?
Bernie is man down right
goodness.
now. I don't know. Without Bernie, we might not have any hope, people. So, I just want to give a couple of those shout outs out because I heard about those things that were happening along the way. So this week, what we decided to do was we said we were going to do a show about cannabis, right? But it wasn't just about cannabis because I was walking the streets of Manhattan the other day, and I came up on 37th Street and 7th Avenue, and bang, what do I see? A giant store.
A weed store.
Called Weed World.
Weed World.
On the corner of 37th and 7th Avenue. So I immediately pick up the phone. I go, Esther, we got to do a show about weed.
Who's Esther?
I said, Gary. I said, ESP. Well, I called Esther, right? I didn't call ESP. See, now you all up in my business, right? So I called Esther. I said, listen, we have to do a show about Weed World. And then we called ESP, right? And we kind of did this whole thing. I called Gary, and I'm like, I want to know how much money are they making now? And I said, we need to do a show on a couple of things. One, who are the new weed dealers? Who are the new drug dealers, right? And two, should the old drug dealers who have been locked up, right, since the Rockefeller laws and that they, made marijuana illegal, what about those guys, right? I mean, like, can they come out now and get jobs in the weed industry now? You know what I'm saying? And funny enough, I looked something like that up, and there's a couple of places for you guys, and there's hope that you can get involved in the weed trade. But so I think the way we're going to start the show off is we're just going to let it rip, really. You know what I'm saying? We have no guests today. You're welcome to call in. What's the call-in number? The call-in number is
929-480-8478.
All right.
And there are no guests specifically because we want you all to call in because of this subject matter.
So you can give us a ring. That's cool. And
so you're the guest.
What's interesting is, so we're going to talk about investing in weed, right? The possibility of you owning your own weed stand, right? And then here's what's crazy. Weed World has weed trucks. So there's trucks that park out, right, wherever they want to go into the hood, and they sell weed. Now, there's a little bit of controversy with the Weed World situation, and that is we're not sure if what the level of THC is, right? Is it THC?
THC.
What the level of THC is in it, right? Yeah. We're trying to figure out what that is, but here it is. So let's go, man. Let's talk about this weed thing. I'm in.
Well, in terms of levels.
Spark a blunt.
Okay, so I actually went into a store. There's one in Forest Hills, which is right over in Queens. I'm telling you, I'm blown away by this whole thing. First of all, it's not the joints that, that's not what it's about. You have vaping, and a pen is what they call it. You can put it in a tincture that's on your tongue. You have it in pills. It's crazy. So, all right. So what I found out when I was in there, and it's really supposed to be for, when they say medical marijuana, it's PTSD, chronic pain, cancer, ALS, epilepsy, HIV or AIDS, Huntington's disease, inflammatory bowel disease, multiple sclerosis, neuropathy, Parkinson's disease, spinal injuries, and I didn't get this one, opioid use. Okay, so if you qualify for any of those two things, you can actually go online, fill out an application, You call an 800 number. You can talk to a doctor.
Uh-huh.
If you didn't have a doctor certify you, and there's a process where you get certified and you get your little card and you can go into the store and you can get your THC or CBD.
So hold on, wait.
Now,
Can you just go down that list again real quick? I just want to
Really?
see where I might qualify. What two are not too messed up? You know what I'm saying? That I could maybe just like, did they have cataracts in that? Eye trouble?
they didn't have cataracts, but
eye trouble?
I wanted to answer your actual question because the strongest, it's 20 to 1. Your question was the levels 20 to 1 THC to CBD. That's like considered the strongest.
So that's the get high.
Dosage.
That's the boom
No,
bam.
there's a break. Give me a minute.
Oh, keep going. I'm excited now. I am so excited. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so then there's 1.1, which is 1 THC, 1 CBD, and then 120, which is THC to CBD in that order. So it's 20 to 1, 1.1, and 1.20.
Okay.
Now the THC is the euphoria.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
That's the shit I want.
this is interesting. If you take it sublingual, which is you drop it under the tongue,
Uh-huh.
it peaks in 15 minutes
Whew.
and it lasts for 6 to 8 hours.
Oh shit.
If you take the pill,
Uh-huh.
it peaks from 2 to 6 hours and the duration is 4 to 12 hours.
Mm.
The vape is 15 to 30 minutes it peaks and the duration is 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Okay, so depending on your delivery level and your delivery dosage, I've been told, I have not tried this, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I'll deal with that.
I've been told that the vaping gives you that wave that, all right, let's be real. Did you smoke weed when you was growing up? I smoked weed when I was growing up.
I mean, it wasn't really my thing. I was more of a drinker, but, I had a little something. But
Okay.
it never really did anything. It wasn't my thing. But,
Gary?
Yeah, I smoke.
Okay. I mean, for me it was like a very sensual, sexual thing. It wasn't something that I did to get away. It was something that I did to go into another thing. But you got a euphoric and a... So these peaks is the euphoria that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Now, as I said, I have not used this new stuff, but I asked several people who I've come in contact with who have a medical marijuana card to please call in. Well, we got 14 of y'all out here.
Yeah.
So please do call in, and I see some of y'all are typing
Who's
to
typing?
us.
Who's typing? Who's typing?
Hi, Juliet. How are you? And Gabriella. Hey.
Gabby.
All right. So call in. Once again, the number is 929-480-8478. And we want to hear what you have to say with regard to what we're talking about here, because we're going to get into the financials, but if you have, because you asked me to go through the list again, it's PTSD.
I got that.
I have a feeling that you're going to say you have everything on this list.
No.
Chronic pain.
Oh, shit. In my ass. I have a chronic pain in my ass.
Could you watch the language?
Wait a minute. I
please?
said pain in the ass. Come on.
All right, cancer.
No, I ain't got
That's
no
nothing
cancer.
to play with.
I ain't
Come
got
on.
no cancer.
And if you're using it for cancer, God bless you if it works for you for any of these ailments.
I used to date a cancer. Does that count?
ALS. Are you going to make a joke out of every
No, because ALS, I'm not saying anything about that.
epilepsy? That I want to come back to because I want to talk about a study that I researched on that. HIV and AIDS, Huntington's disease, MS, which is multiple sclerosis, neuropathy, and there's one that I skipped over, but I'm going to leave it for the last because I know you're going to make a joke. You're such an ass. Parkinson's disease, spinal injuries, and opioid usage, and the final one that I left out or passed over was inflammatory bowel disease. So, if you have any one of these ailments, you are legally allowed on the state level to take medical marijuana, because on the federal level, they still have an issue with it, and we're going to discuss that as well.
So,
Okay.
does anyone want to talk about their weed experience at this table? Because from what I understand, you guys have smoked.
Okay, you're talking about cannabis. You started this phone call. What we're talking about is cannabis. That's marijuana is a form of cannabis. Cannabis is a blanket plant.
Right.
Okay, it's like talking about money.
Uh-huh.
Now you said that you wanted to talk about the money trade.
Mm-hmm.
When you say marijuana or weed, we're talking about, let's say, quarters. When you talk about CBD, we're talking about a 50-cent piece. When you see THC, we're talking about 25 cents. And when you put the 50 cents and the 25 cents together to get 75 cents, you get this new product that's being marketed.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't talk about the weed that we used to smoke in joints and blunts, and some of us still do. That's a whole different animal than what they're selling in these stores right now.
Even in the medical marijuana stores?
The levels, the THC level has been diminished. The THC level is what causes the euphoric behavior or the euphoric feeling has been diminished.
How about the edibles?
We ain't talking about those.
Oh, I done brought up some stuff.
Well,
I'll talk about the edibles.
I was talking about the stuff that I saw in the store that I went into. So, Gary, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I'll talk about the edibles.
Let me just briefly talk about the new drug dealers. They're millionaires and billionaires. A guy by the name of Bruce Linton, he owns the Canopy Growth Corp. They're publicly traded.
I'm sorry, what do you mean publicly traded?
On the New York Stock Exchange.
So I can invest in that company?
Yes. He's 52.
Put the mic towards your mouth.
He's 52.
See?
His valuation is 142 million.
Shift the mic. There you go. Thank you.
The next guy is Terry Booth of Aurora Cannabis. His valuation stake is 95 million. The next guy is John Saveni. He's 47 of Afria Inc. And his valuation is 144 million.
All these guys are selling weed.
So they're making money.
They're all publicly traded. These are all these guys. They're multi-millionaires, and their companies are publicly traded. The Canopy Group, they're on the New York Stock Exchange. They were trading at $22.97. There's another company called
a share.
Yeah, per share.
Okay.
There's another company called the Tilray Group, which those guys, they like three of the partners in that company, they made like $1 billion. So it's crazy. They were trading at $24.17, and then one of the other groups is called the Cronus Group.
The Cronus Group.
And they're on NASDAQ, and their stock symbol is CRON. Okay. So these are the bigger players.
Okay.
That is out there making a lot of money, but then there are other smaller companies. There are other smaller companies that the everyday investor, like you and me, can get into. As a matter of fact, there's this app, this investment app called Stash.
Okay.
They actually have a part on Stash where they'll direct you how to invest in weed.
That's what I'm talking about.
So
no, 'cause I think we should get money for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, and I think like all them brothers and sisters that was in jail for this, they need to open up their own companies and be able to do their own thing, since now that we can do it legal, And once again, big shout out to the edibles. All right. Because listen, I never smoked the weed, but I ate it. You know what I'm saying? I had an edible or two in my lifetime. I tried the edibles in Amsterdam when we traveled to Amsterdam.
I love Amsterdam, by the way.
Right, exactly. And when you think about them, right, they have the weed, and they're never fighting any wars. They're never involved in anything. It's their own country.
You trying to say because they high?
Exactly, because they're all smoked out. So they're not tense, you know what I'm saying? So when's the last time Amsterdam invaded anybody? Or that you even heard about them in the news? You just don't hear about them, except for if you want to go get high, go to Amsterdam. So I had an edible thing in Amsterdam when I was traveling, actually, with MOP, actually. And the edible was incredible. That's what I can tell you, And I did that, I think I was about 30, I was about 37, 38. And then I decided recently that I wanted to recap. And that didn't work out too well. So,
So you, when you were in your passage of speech there, you mentioned having people who were arrested for weed. How do we get into it? At one point, when he introduced, Cuomo introduced the program, introduced that he was going to legalize it in the state, he did say that there was a forgiveness and people who were arrested on lower level charges and so on were being let out, and that they were going to be able to come into the weed growth and actually set them up in businesses so they could somehow get a part of their lives back. And I was kind of researching and found nothing else continuing on that, because I do know that not everybody has been released on those charges.
Right.
So did you get anything further on that?
I mean, I think that further down the line, as this thing starts to evolve, that these people that are in prison will probably, come out. It was interesting because the other day I'm sitting, matter of fact, in front of the weed store, and guess what? Well, in the weed store they have rollers. They actually have rollers. They actually roll the joints for you there. So they have the rollers. And what happened with some guy, but he had weed from someplace else, and he actually walked up to me and asked me for a light, like in the middle of the street. He was like, "Yo, you got a light?" And I'm like, "Yo, is that a joint?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "You gonna smoke that walking down the street?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So I sparked his shit up, and he walked off, smoking the weed down the street. I'm like, "This is we're living in a, once again, I had only experienced that in Amsterdam. Really, I'd never experienced that in New York."
Well, didn't you just say that you were sitting in front of the store? Am I dead on one ear? That you were sitting in front of the store and the guy walked up to you and...
Yeah, but he didn't get that. He didn't get it from the store.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he didn't get it from the store. Homeboy just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Got you.
I had a light for him. Have you ever eaten the weed before? Have you ever had an edible, Esther?
Wow,
ESP.
You really want to put me on blast? Yes, I have. When I was in college, I made weed brownies repeatedly, regularly.
Okay.
I was a very good baker.
So based on that, what do you think was better? Was it better to eat it, smoke it, or what was the deal? I just sort of,
I was a smoker, so I preferred smoking.
It was rolling smoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
To
Gary?
me, that was a quicker hit of whatever.
Of what the blast was.
happening. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gary?
I smoked. I mean, I was, I smoked the joints.
Okay.
Blunts.
Blunt, yeah. I can't imagine you doing that, by the way.
Well,
You sure you're telling the truth?
I have my moments.
Okay. You always in a suit, so I don't know.
But
So you can't smoke if you're in a suit?
I'm just saying, he
Go
didn't
ahead,
fit the
Gary. I'm
profile.
sorry.
one of the things with me is that it made me hungry. Like
Okay.
it gives you the munchies.
You get the munchies.
I
yeah.
think most people that have smoked weed, they either get sleepy, they get the munchies, or they get horny. Some people get all three. Some people get 2 out of 3. So yeah.
How come I never had the girls that got horny from weed? I'd have brought a brick of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd have brought a brick. You know what I'm saying? I mean, well, I prefer to actually, consume it as an edible. And the problem with the edible, though, is that what you don't realize is that it takes a while for it to really hit your system. You know what I'm saying? So you might eat, like, let's say, and this is for you people who have never eaten the edibles. Now, they come in brownies, they come in Rice Krispie treats. Now, they're actually doing them. I met a brother on the train when I was on Amtrak the other day. He does full meals, like straight up like fried chicken with the weed in it and just full menu. He has a menu and everything, but it's all edible. But the problem with that is it doesn't kick in for about 2 hours. So what you do is you eat it, right? And then now you don't know, so you took a little bit, and you go, damn, I didn't do nothing. And then you go, let me just eat a little more. And they go, damn, I ain't do nothing. So now I ate the whole rest of it, right? I said, I ain't do nothing. And then I went to sleep. Well, took that at 10 o'clock. 12 o'clock, I jumped up crazy. Oh, I can't breathe. Oh, God, this shit is crazy. right? And
You so loud, you sound like you need some now to
yeah,
bring you
I think
down.
no, I think she's got the headphones turned up. So now I'm running back and forth in my house like a madman, right? Because I'm trying to run the weed off. I'm trying to exercise the weed off, and I'm running for my life, right? And then finally, I just go, you know what? I gotta call 911. So I call 911. The fire department comes first, and I go running down the steps in my underwear with no shoes on, and I'm like, just take me to the hospital. We gotta go now. They're like, what's wrong with you? I said, here's the bag, and I hand them the bag with the rest of the stuff in it. And they said, oh, you're high. I said, yeah, I'm high. Now take me to the hospital. Now, mind you, I'm stuttering and I cannot communicate while this is actually happening. So what I'm saying right now is what I heard in my head, but that ain't how it's coming out. So I told myself, just put me on the back of the fire truck, B. You know what I'm saying? We don't even got to wait for the ambulance. They're like, no, the ambulance got to come. Then the ambulance comes, and then they put me on the ambulance, and I'm on the ambulance, and the paramedics are talking to me like I'm not there. They're like, oh, thank God his feet don't stink, like the last guy that was on the bus. And I'm like, you know, then I can hear you, you know, but I was stuttering, so I didn't really say that. I just thought I said that, you know. And then I jumped out my body and looked at myself and said, you dummy, you're going to kill yourself. So now I get into the hospital, and then the doctor comes over and he goes, hey, buddy, so it looks like you had an edible. I said, yeah. I said, I had an edible. He said, how much did you eat? I said, well, about 25 grams, you know. He said, well, maybe you should have only eaten half of it, 13 grams. I said, dude, do you do this? I said, I mean, do you eat the weed? And he's like, what happens in the ER stays in the ER. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, if I could get some normal saline to flush this out of my system, I think I'd be okay. And by this time, I had called up ESP and Ralph and Legs, and I was like, y'all gotta come to the hospital because I'm about to drop dead, and they're gonna be doing CPR on me, and y'all gotta be my medical proxy. Like, it was a whole thing that went on.
This is 2 o'clock in the morning. And I gotta jump out of bed and run to the hospital.
Because I'm like, I'm in bad shape,
Mind
right?
you, I don't know any of this. I just hear him in a state of panic, and he come to the hospital. I said, what did you just say? I'm in the hospital. Get to Elmer's right now. I'm like, are you working? Because, as you know, did somebody have a heart attack and we're working? No, I'm in the hospital. So, of course, I fly.
It's me. It's me this time.
Okay.
Right. So I call.
Yeah, get through the story.
Anyway, so here's the deal. Yeah, we get back. I mean, it's all the show. So now I call Ralph. And then Ralph comes, and Ralph is absolutely positively. Big shout out to Ralph Montos. Give Ralph some claps. Give Ralph some claps. Give him some claps. All right. So he comes, and he's a maniac. He's like, what do you want me to do? I need you to. What do you want me? And I'm like, dude, I don't know what I want you to do. What can you do for me? Like, I'm messed up, you know. Right. So then Legs comes, and then by about 1 o'clock, just before Esther arrived, the good part kicked in. Now came the jokes and the hallucinations, and it was a good time. Wee!
Mind you, again, I'm driving there, so I still don't know this. So when I come through ER, expecting to see him half dead, there's tears, there's laughter. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So they bring me up to speed. They just hand me a bag. First thing they do is they hand me a bag, and it says, do not eat me. I'm like, are we in Alice in Wonderland or something like that? Don't take the red pill.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So I'm like, what is this? He said, just open the bag. And I open the bag, and I see this brownie. I said, okay, what? Oh. I have pictures. Don't make me blow you. Listen, stay in the phone.
Man. Nah, I'm good.
All right, but I really
but hold on. So then
it
finally, so it was good. I'm just letting you know. Like, after I ate it, then I cracked up, and there was a guy who was in the bed next to me, you know, in the bed next, and he's ooh, and I just remember going, this nigga here, and just started cracking up because everything was funny as I started to hallucinate. So smoking never did it for me like that. Eating it apparently was wonderful. I actually enjoyed it, but I won't be eating it again. It's
yeah, but you're not somebody who deals with cannabis. For somebody who
no,
does it all the time, it's you know how to you have an idea as to when it's going to kick and what the control is needed and how much to have. And I mean, I know people who still smoke marijuana on a daily basis. Because again, what we started out with in talking about the weed trade is not really weed. We're talking about cannabis, which I don't know if I mentioned this already.
You did.
Okay. So you're talking about several different things, but what we're talking about in the state of New York right now really is not weed from way back. It is a separation of components because they understand that, listen, every spiritual context makes a reference to herbs being for the healing of the nations.
Right.
All right. So you have a stomach ache, you take peppermint tea, it helps to release the gas. You have a toothache, you take, what is the thing that you put, a clove? And every plant has a use. So what the United States government or the state governments are now understanding is that what people have been saying and doing in terms of using this product to help them feel better, they can now capitalize on.
Okay.
That's what I understood that we were going to talk about in the show. Not really weed, but the components of what they're drawing out of the weed in order to make these products and legalize them. Because these products that they're selling in these stores are not federally approved yet.
I know that. Yeah, I know.
And somebody asked prior to the show when we were running the advertisement, so you can still get arrested for something. I said that is right. On a federal level, they have that. The Food and Drug Administration has not passed off on it yet because there's so many things. The what's his name? Alec. The Secretary of Health. He has recognized it as not being a viable drug. Yet, at NYU Langone, they're testing this with teenagers who have serious epileptic fits, and they're using the THC and CBD combinations on the children, and it's working, and they're feeling better, and they're not having seizures anymore. And because it's a federal program, the federal government walks in and says, well, we're not funding you anymore. So now you have this flock of children that actually had some relief from a derivative product that now can't be treated because of the federal mandates, the federal government. So these are the things that I want to talk about. Once again, if you're listening, give us a call. We want to hear what you have to say. We're at 929-480-8478. And if you're just tuning in, set up a watch party. Hit your phone, set up a watch party, invite somebody else in, and let's talk about this. We want to hear what you're doing. You don't have to give us your name if you're doing it. If you're doing weed, marijuana, if you have a marijuana card, if you're going in and using CBD, even if some of you have medical injuries that you use these things for. So call us in. Tell us what you think. Tell us how it works for you. Tell us what's going on.
As we're talking here and we're sort of getting into the money end of these new drug dealers here, let me try to put it in context for some of you people. Now, some of the companies that I mentioned earlier, like the Kronos Group, Constellation Brands, Canopy Growth, Tilray, these are publicly traded companies, and they have billion-dollar market caps. Market caps, basically a market cap, so you understand, is, let's say a company is selling each share of stock at $50, and there's 1 billion shares. Well, multiply that by the billion, and you got there's 1 billion outstanding shares. So multiply the $50 by the billion outstanding shares. Now you got the market cap.
Okay.
So that's a hell of a lot of money. And a lot of these publicly traded companies, they're having huge.
So if I wanted to go invest in weed, where would I go to? Would I go to Morgan Stanley? Would I go to, where would I go and say I want to invest in the cannabis trade?
Well, interestingly enough, what's happening is that a lot of the Wall Street banks, they're salivating at the mouth because the when all this cannabis stuff happened with all these millionaires happening, they were coming out of Canada.
Okay.
So, and a lot of the Canadian banks were making tons and tons of money. And back to what ESP was saying, because of the regulation here, you know, banks here, they're kind of like, they don't want to, you know, they're waiting to see what Washington, D.C. is going to say before they can get fully in. But yet, Canada and a few other countries, they're, you know,
Already on it.
They're already in reaping the benefits. Like, one of the first official billionaires is out of Russia. Official weed billionaires, according to Fortune.
And he was down with the cannabis.
And he was down with it. Like, he literally made $1 billion.
So I think the question I've been wanting to ask, right, and a lot of people ask, when because there was a time when cannabis, you know, was legal in the United States. As a matter of fact, weed was actually legal in the United States at one point. So at what point did it become illegal? Was it the 60s, the 70s? When did this cannabis thing become illegal?
You looking over here? You were supposed to do the history.
I can do it, but I just figure you probably did it.
I probably did it, but you know you got to do some work too.
You know what? They want me to work today. So here's the deal.
Yes, you should work. Am I imagining things, or do I hear our theme song in the background?
Yeah.
on loop?
We just figured we were going to give some background music to try to tone down some of the atmosphere in the room.
Oh,
So we just
I
played
don't
that.
like it.
Oh, yep, it's there today.
Do we? Do we have? I'm talking to our. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to our production manager. Do we have to have it?
Yeah, just listen.
I like the conversation. Just all right.
So anyway,
Can we turn it down a little bit?
yeah, okay.
It's a little distracting.
So
Okay. Thank you.
that's cool.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Wait till next week. I'm gonna have Apache playing in the
Juliet's
background.
laughing at us.
All right, so here's the deal.
I hear
So,
that you want to discuss people's experiences with medical marijuana,
Yes, I
but it doesn't
do.
seem like those are the people that are watching you guys. Thank you, Juliet. Well,
We-
just
we getting
just
that
in general,
Chiba.
but we don't have to have names. So anybody who's had an experience, even with a tea, Juliet, you like to bake, so maybe do you ever bake brownies with? I ain't gonna blow you up. You know what?
And if
I'm
you
gonna
do,
leave
I'm
you
coming
alone.
over because I want to eat
Yeah,
something.
we're coming over after the show.
All right. So the deal is, in 1937, 36 is when they actually made the weed whole thing illegal, right? When they really made it illegal, and they actually put out a propaganda film, and the propaganda film is called Reefer Madness, made in 1936, and it shows the kids in schools being affected by this reefer menace, the reefer menace. And part of the reasons why, back in the history up a little bit before that, is the Mexicans were actually the ones that were responsible for bringing in the marijuana. They were responsible for bringing that in. When they wanted to basically get rid of the Mexicans, they decided, they're always trying to get rid of the Mexicans. They let them in, they let them out, they let them in, they let them out, they let them in, they let them out, let them in, let them out, right?
Focus.
So when they were trying to get rid of the Mexicans, right, they made weed, marijuana illegal. And the spearhead of that was actually the Hearst company, Patty Hearst's grandfather,
Yep. I know them.
actually, and he was the one that was putting these commercials in front of the movies saying that weed was a psychedelic drug and it would make you rape women and jump out of a window and it caused psychosis and all this foolishness. And that's kind of sort of the beginning when the weed, and the marijuana, the whole making it illegal actually started.
And if you want to look that up, that's the Tax Act of 1937 that he's talking about.
Thank you.
There you go.
Which is, and that's what it was. But before that, they were growing, hemp, cannabis in Virginia. They were growing it all over. There were a lot of places they were growing it all over the United States. So this marijuana thing. Here's what I'm driving at. A lot of you people that don't smoke or that believe the hype. Y'all need to stop that. And I'm talking about people that are walking around going, well, you know, weed is bad, marijuana is bad. It is not bad. It was never bad. And here's the deal. Those people that are singing the praises of weed are the same people that drink alcohol.
That's right.
And let's be clear. Alcohol is far more damaging than marijuana.
Very,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
gotta jump in on that one for one split second, and this is not a personal disagreement, but I do have and know people. I have friends who would disagree directly with what you're saying. Specifically, one person comes to mind above others because her husband hung himself based on his weed usage. Now, let me finish because I could feel you getting ready to pounce.
I'm just gonna
Here's
listen.
the thing. He was using it and didn't realize that he was in a state of depression. And he became more depressed because sometimes weed makes people a little sluggy, you know. Some people, it affects people in a different way. Some people it picks up, and some people it makes hungry. I mean, I've known people who didn't have the munchies, but he became very depressed and was smoking and literally smoked himself into his thoughts into hanging himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't agree with you wholeheartedly, and it's not the first person. It's just she comes to mind specifically. I don't want to say her name because, you know, but if she would to call in, she would talk about it freely. She has.
Right.
You know, had her talk about it
and
publicly.
once again, and the thing I'm going to say about that is I'm talking about a generalization of something that's a fact, right? The generalization of something that is a fact is alcohol is far worse than marijuana when it comes to your health, and there's truly no benefit to really drinking alcohol. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that individual things don't happen. Individual things happen with alcohol, and individual things happen with anything. But from a statistical standpoint,
But we agree with you on that.
right, alcohol is far more damaging than smoking a joint.
Okay.
That's the deal, you know?
But I wasn't addressing that. I was addressing that you said that weed was not hurting anybody. Weed never did any damage to anybody. It has. That's what I was addressing,
Right,
not alcohol.
but everything has done damage to everybody at one point.
Wow,
You know?
you're just full of blanket statements today.
You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
let's focus on what we're doing
You
here.
eat too much cheese, you're farting all the time. You know what I mean? Like that's damage, you know?
I don't even want to know how you got there, but okay.
But go ahead, so what do you got on the paper? Go ahead. girl.
No, you go ahead and then be in the
No,
flow.
no, no, no,
I'm
but,
just going
yeah,
with hit points.
But I
on
was
you.
I was just dealing with it from that standpoint that, you know, a lot of the people are into the hype and thinking that this marijuana thing is a bad thing, and I just don't think that. I think marijuana is a great thing. I think it should be fully legalized, and the incarcerated population that have been incarcerated because of selling weed. Now, if you sold coke, for me, all right, you ass out. You know what I'm saying? But if you got locked up for selling weed, I feel like you should truly be released.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you are a victim of a farce.
Mm.
That's what you're a victim of. You're a victim of a farce. It wasn't even real. The whole weed psychosis thing, it wasn't real. Right? So you're a victim of something, you know, that you shouldn't even be locked up for. You know, and that's where I am with it, when I am with that. Yes, Gary.
So, I just wanted to tell people, so the first cannabis king billionaire, his name is Boris Jordan. He's chairman of Cureleaf, and it's based in Boston, and his net worth is $1.1 billion.
What's his name again?
Boris Jordan.
You see that? His name ain't Tyrone Jones.
Now, I want y'all now.
That's his dispensary that I went to in Forest Hills.
Now-
Tyrone
Cureleaf.
Jones?
No,
Oh.
Cureleaf.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's right on Austin Street.
Now, there's one of the top pot firms or cannabis firms is called Tilray Inc. They had a market valuation of $21 billion. Now, again, let me put this in context. So, you take a company that has 20 million shares, right? And each share is at $50. 20 million times $50, you got
Pull out the
$1 billion.
calculator.
You got $1 billion.
Okay.
So, and that's on the high end, and a couple of the partners in Tilray, they became obscenely wealthy. So now with companies like Tilray Group and Constellation Brands and Kronos, those are the high end. Now for everyday people who want to try to get in, there is new companies, and now this is new information because I got this from Market Watch a couple days ago.
So these are franchises.
No, the companies I'm going to talk about now.
Right.
These are new publicly traded companies.
Okay.
But they're not as big as the other, like the ones that I just spoke about. These are the big boys.
Okay.
The ones I'm going to talk about now. These are the ones just starting out that people are watching. So this is where you can go on Stash and these other investment apps, and even if you have an investment broker, you can get into. One company is called True Leaf Cannabis. Another company is called Namaste Technologies. Another company is called 22nd Century Group. Another company is called Aleridge Holdings.
So wait, are people supposed to be writing these names down, guys? If you want to invest?
I mean, that's the kind of thing. If you
We'll also post it up on our page.
Okay. Oh, now you're loud.
Okay.
You're happy now. You're crazy. He's like, no, you want to post up. Okay.
So now he just sounds like you. That's all.
We'll post it up. Some of the things I'm talking about. If you don't get to write it down, by tomorrow we'll have it posted
up on the page.
On our page so you can see.
The real discussion with Rock Logic.
Exactly.
Okay.
Some of these new companies that you can get into.
Now, here's the thing. If I don't want to invest, is it possible for me to open my own store?
See, that's what I was coming to, because
Can
I'm
we
waiting
do
for
that?
him to rattle off all of these names. And here's the thing.
Because I want to open my
There
store.
was an application process from April 27th to June 5th of 2015 that if you wanted to have your own dispensary, if you wanted to have your own company, you had to file by that time. They're not accepting any applications anymore. So that's why I asked you, are these franchises? Because if you want to open a Curaleaf, as an example, in California, in a place that doesn't have one, in Iowa somewhere, would you have to buy their franchise like a McDonald's?
Well, what I was talking about, what I was talking about, these are publicly traded companies, so you'll be able to, if you're an investor, you want to invest, you can buy stock in a company.
Got that, because McDonald's is a publicly
Right.
traded
So,
company, but can I buy a franchise?
Can you buy? Well, I don't know if there's any franchises. I think that's something else we can look into. 'Cause,
Okay.
Owning a franchise and being an investor, actually a stock investor, is obviously it's two different things. But
Yeah, one makes more money than the other. I want overrides, okay?
Well, I mean, what I thought was interesting is that, so I want to ask you about this the whole buying the store. So could I, if I would have been part of that process, right? Could I have then said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get a license for 10 dispensaries or 10. I'm just speaking English.
That's
10
interesting
weed
that
shops.
you said that, because you're allowed to open 10 weed shops with that license that I was just talking about.
So if I had the one license, I could open up
You
10
could have opened
weed
10.
joints. Wow.
But what I'm trying to research is, can the 10 that you open, can they open another 10 under you? I mean, can we just franchise it down? Because you figure that how many billion people are on the earth? They can't all come to Austin Street and Weed World on,
Sure, right. On
on
37th.
37th Avenue.
you probably can. But I think that I think we're.
So they go, I'm gonna come.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you can. They'll just come from all over the world.
I think where
Amsterdam does
the
it.
problem comes in is the different state laws.
I mean, that being granted, but I think Weed World is a franchise. I think because Weed World's in a couple of places. It's not just here in Manhattan. Weed World, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Weed World, I believe, started in New Orleans.
Okay.
It actually started, it's not a New York-based thing. And the whole weed truck thing all came from out of New Orleans. So when I went to the store, I asked two questions. First question I asked, I said, is this sort of like a spin-off or a thing, or is it all one company? And they're like, yeah, well, it's the company that's down in New Orleans. And my second question was, is it a black guy that owns it? I'm like, there's a black guy on it. And he was like, yeah, man, black guy owns it. And there was black people working in the store. So I felt, a small amount of vindication in that when they said that. But yeah.
Am I supposed to have the answer to that question?
Nah, but
But
I do believe that it is out of New Orleans because the conversation was relatively fresh.
Somebody just asked me a question before Gary answers that. The name of the show and the name of the site is The Real Discussion with Rock, Logic, Gary D, and ESP. You've probably been sent an invite, but we also are up on Facebook Live, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube. Go to our YouTube page. We need 1,000 hits. Y'all go and go to the YouTube page. All of the old shows are on there. Share and like.
And subscribe.
And subscribe, please. Tune in on Anchor Podcast in a minute. We're almost there. We're also at rocksdiscussion@gmail.com. Yeah. Rocks Real Discussion on Instagram, and on Twitter we're at Rocks Discussion. Once again, the number is 929-480-8478. Please do give us a buzz because we want to hear what you have to say.
There's a guy by the name of Adam Bierman. Adam Bierman, he has a company called Medimen Enterprises. That's the largest weed or cannabis.
I'm sorry, many men or Medi-Men?
Medimen.
Oh.
MEDIMEN Enterprises.
This brings me someplace.
I was hoping it was many men, but okay.
It's considered the largest cannabis distillery in the country. They're considered the Apple of cannabis.
Oh, can I invest in them?
Well, I don't think they're publicly traded yet, but I'm sure with all the
You got money?
I'm just saying, listen, I'll take $1 and put it in on that. $1 in Polaroid in the 60s, man, you rocked.
Now, speaking about investing, the cannabis market by 2025, they expect it to be something like 145 billion.
Isn't that something?
Like, those are real numbers. Like, those are the numbers, man.
Yeah, because we all gonna be smoking this shit.
So, so there's a lot of upside if you want to get in and invest in the
Okay, so hold
cannabis.
on. So now I've noticed some limitations, so I have a question. Okay? I have a question. So you talked about investing. We can invest in it, right?
Right.
And then we talked about the stores, and apparently there's a limitation on the stores right now because you can't file the application. So, I have some friends, I hang out in their house or whatever, right? Can we open a farm? I want to open a farm.
You're an idiot.
Listen, that's a real question. Can we open a farm?
Okay, here's what you really are asking.
Yeah.
Can we cultivate land and grow this and not get in trouble?
Yes.
There's still federal restrictions. Once you research the federal restrictions, you might be able to. However, you also have to quantify on the state level. Now, let's look at what you're saying. If the state has allowed the usage of cannabis products and needs to grow the product in order to pull the essence of what they're selling, it has to be grown somewhere, right?
Right.
100%.
That makes sense.
There's a farm somewhere.
There were people who grew it in our communities. Now, there were grow houses. Look at what you're saying.
I'm saying it.
And they raided them, got caught, locked them up. Who is this benefiting? I think that's the answer to whether you can or cannot do it. If you are going to do it, whose toes are you stepping on now? Because it's not Brother Man who got the grow house up in, wherever.
Right.
You stepping on a whole nother sector of people.
Right.
So we have to figure that out. And are they going to allow you you,
Mm-hmm.
you,
That's right.
to do this.
That's what this is about, isn't it?
Well, see,
They still locking brothers up.
Well, see,
And here's what I'm saying, right? That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying if my man is good enough or understands the botanicals enough to grow weed, right? Then he obviously is an excellent farmer. You
But
understand
that's
what I'm
what
saying?
Cuomo was
So-
when he first mandated, when he first brought this to the to the United States, to the New York people, and said, "Yes, I'm going to consider allowing this to happen." He said, "Well, I'm going to let people out of prison, and I'm actually going to put them to work because this is something that they know that they can do, and I'm going to let them invest." You know, he said that. I haven't seen anything. Have you seen anything?
No, I haven't seen nothing.
Africa, have you heard or seen anything further on this issue? So what's he doing? That's where we need to go. What's
Exactly.
happening?
So, and that's kind of
Please,
the
if
point.
you know
The-
anything, please call us in.
The brothers and sisters that have been locked up for growing weed in their house and growing weed on the roof and all that, they need to be released too. The people that were selling weed, they need to be released too. But because those were the farmers, these were the farmers. So why can't they be released and let them have their own farm? Because somebody's growing it, right? Somebody's growing it, and it ain't us that's growing it. So I just feel like it's a travesty that, once again, something that we've been doing for hundreds of years, you know, but if you want to go from an urban standpoint, since we've been here in the United States, and they're still locked up for that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? My man should have his own farm now. Or he should be able to crack his greenhouse open back up in the Bronx and get it up and cracking, and then go ahead and then sell it to the Cannabis Commission. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Absolutely.
Like-
Well, see, here's the interesting thing on the farm issue. I know that earlier in the year, on this new farm bill that Trump was going to sign, they had a cannabis portion in it. You know, and I think we need to research that, because he obviously was trying to do things to, I guess, help the farmers, but also having this cannabis provision in there, I'm sure was talking about who can grow it and all this other stuff. I don't think he signed it yet, but it's something on the table. So I think we need to investigate and look that up.
What about? Was it a weed thing that Donald Trump was trying to do?
He's in the farm bill.
He added cannabis to that.
They're trying to sneak in cannabis.
Okay.
Into that.
Interesting.
Okay. Put a
He said
cannabis.
sneak in cannabis.
They're trying to sneak in a cannabis provision. So under the farm bill, it'll be federally, you know, it'll be a federal law now.
That they can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
if that happens, corn stock is going down.
But what I'm saying is that how they word it, you know, let's say he does sign it.
Uh-huh.
Where do we fit into that? You
Correct.
follow me?
Yeah, and I'm so with you on that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm with you on that, and that's why I brought up the ability to grow it. You know what I'm saying? From from a farming standpoint, because there's a lot of brothers and sisters that definitely was growing it,
Right.
and that got locked up and raided.
Absolutely.
Well,
Right.
That falls under the Department of Agriculture, which is a federal commission. But listen, the Health and Human Resources Secretary, Alex Azar, recently stated, you ready for this? There's no such thing as medical marijuana. Okay, hold on. Scientists are saying this prevents them from furthering their research required for the Food and Drug Administration to approve medical marijuana. That's the United States government. This is
I
somebody
understand.
mandated by the United States
But see,
government.
here's the problem, and I guess I have to get a little, I gotta get into politics here. See, Trump has hired people that really don't know what they're doing.
Right,
And,
I agree with that.
and I think that when you have people that's in positions like that, that could affect people basically people's life and death, and they're making that kind of decisions, that's very bad.
Well, he's an asshole.
Well, it's very profitable for the drug
Well, I
companies.
mean, of
if
course,
this is not working.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure they would rather us be pumped up with drugs to take care of cancer and so on. Well, take care of cancer.
Maintain cancer.
Yeah.
Right.
But Listen, I told y'all when we decided we were going to do this show, I told you I was all over the place on this subject. It's just very sensitive with me. The United States government does not recognize that this is a viable product. Yet in the States, we're selling this as a product. I'm very passionate about this in terms of it being a product. It should not even be a product. It's a tree.
It's a tree, right?
That you logistically could take and plant if you knew how to maintenance it. I've put it in a pot when I've had the seeds. You remember how you sit there and clean it? And you put it just for fun's sake, and it grew. And I had a marijuana plant, and I named it, and I watched it grow. And it's beneficial. I put it in tea. My mother, hey, come back to her. It's very ill, lived a long time, but had a lot of aches and pains. Asked me if I didn't brew that tea and give Mom a little bit of it, and she, oh, I feel better. I couldn't tell her it was weed, but she drank it.
Mm-hmm. No, my grandma used to give it to me for my asthma.
So how dare they have this much control over something that should be just accessible?
Exactly, that's true, that's true.
Spiritually, biblically, it's accessible. It's something that we should have. But you're telling me, they go on to say that it's a promising alternative to the opioid crisis.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
So you drug us up on artificial chemical. Now people are hanging themselves. And remember, the opioid crisis wasn't a crisis when it was jacking us up.
Of course not.
It became a crisis when another sector's young people
that's always the issue.
were tripping out on pills and taking mommy and daddy's pills and going out there and selling them. That's the crisis.
That's right.
Now people are really killing themselves, hanging themselves, doing damage to others. And now you're telling me weed, what we've been pulling on all these years, is a alternative.
Which is madness, because the idea is, and here's, let me give you some hypocrisy here, all right, as being a medical professional. All through the 90s, the pharmaceutical companies pushed the doctors to push the opioids.
Yes, they did.
They pushed them. They
Yes,
said, now let's just be clear what opioids are, because we're sitting there talking about opioid. But opioids are it's heroin. It's heroin. That's what they're doing, right? It's heroin basically in pill form. That's what an opioid is, right? That's why it has these highly addictive qualities. So all through the 90s, the doctors were going, hey, here's some Vicodin. Here's some, what's the other one that Prince died on? What did we call it? It was Vicodin. Hannibal, what was the one that Prince died on? You remember? It starts with a P, right? Well, anyway, it was
Percocet?
Percocet.
No, it wasn't Percocet.
I thought it was Percocet. I think he was taking painkillers.
Percocet was listen, I had a kidney stone, and I took Percocet. I had a broken leg. I took Percocet. I had brain surgery. I took Percocet. For real?
See, she was a opioid addict, right? So the deal was this: they pushed those drugs on everybody, and then here was the issue with that. Now you have white America, right? And they're taking. Well, listen, you're either gonna tell the truth or not.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You know, and what you were saying is when the opioid problem was a heroin problem, when you had the junkies up in Harlem shooting up and all of that wasn't a problem, so nobody even cared, right? But then once it became pill form, and then it became white America that was taking it, and then it got out of control, then it became, we had the opioid crisis, right? And then it became an issue. And so now the adults are taking it. Now the kids are going, you know what, let me pop that at 16. Because you got to understand something. If you had a sports injury at 15 and 16 years old, they were giving them opioids.
That's right.
Right? So now you're giving them opioids. They don't know how to handle that. They're taking that. It feels good. The pain is gone. They're hallucinating sometimes or having some really nice dreams. And then they get so used to that now they bump up. And then they go for the real thing. Now they're going for the smack. Now they're going straight heroin addicts.
That's right.
Which is the reason why you have the biggest heroin issue in the country in Massachusetts.
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
That's the one, the Prince. Thank you, Miss Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Cheryl.
So now you have this huge problem in Massachusetts, right, and in New Hampshire, of once again Caucasians, right, of white people that are taking these opioids, right? They're taking these opioids, and they've graduated to skin popping. So now they're sniffing heroin, they're shooting heroin, they're eating heroin, right? And it's gotten so bad that the government, now here goes another government farce, the government now gives the addicts in Massachusetts Narcan, right? And if you don't understand what Narcan is, Narcan or naloxone is the drug that they use to stop them from ODing, right? This is what we used to give the junkies when we were on the ambulance. You hit them in the nose with the Narcan, bong, and then they vomit on your shoes and they start swinging on you, right? So a couple of times I had to left hook a couple of motherfuckers. I'm just gonna let you know, jab, jab, jab. But anyway, so
You need some weed right now.
so now, because this is the deal. This is kind of the meat and potatoes of it and the farce of what's going on. So check this out. So you're giving junkies Narcan for free, but you're charging $900 for a fucking EpiPen
That's right.
on a kid
For
that
a
had no
child.
choice.
Exactly.
true.
That's
You understand
true.
what I'm saying?
That's facts.
So come on, let's deal with the farce that's going on here. This is all about that money. You understand what I'm saying?
Isn't everything?
Yeah, everything is, and it's tragic. I'm like, okay, you have a kid. He didn't come into this world asking for an allergy, but you take the EpiPen when it was $400 and you brought it up to $900. But now people that actually made a conscious choice to take drugs, you're giving them the antidote for free?
Free. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's the farce in this situation, and that's what I'm talking about. So,
Well, that type of farce has been going on for a long time. Because wasn't that methadone clinics also?
right?
Yep.
Come on, man.
You're just constantly feeding the problem, and there's always, now you're telling me there's always been an answer. We kind of knew it, but now we're legalizing it. So here, now we're selling it so you can buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather pay the brother that was trying to keep food on his table for his family, who was selling and growing weed. I'd rather pay him than pay for this.
And that's where I'm at with it.
Okay.
I'm with it, and that's why I'm saying, let them out, let us go farm, let Tyrone from the projects farm on his terrace and sell us the weed. You understand what I'm saying? Because this man here, right, we are affecting his economic situation directly. This is hand to mouth, hand to lip, whatever you want to call it, right? He gives us the cash, we get the weed, that directly feeds his family, and he's probably hiring other people.
That's right.
So he's creating his own economy. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting.
Direct effect economy.
Here's an interesting stat for you. According to the United Nations, illegal cannabis and weed does about $50 billion annually.
Illegal.
Illegal. That's according to the UN.
Right.
$50 billion annually.
So now what you're saying is there are countries, right, that can come out of poverty, right, that have rich soil that could grow weed and export weed. You know what I'm saying? The economic implications of this are actually worldwide, right? Because the countries that have that type of soil that they can grow marijuana, guess what? That could be their biggest export.
That could be the big, right?
Because right now,
Jamaica.
that's right. You know, Jamaica, stand up, boom, boom, boom. Right? I'm so there. Right? But that would, let me tell you something.
Well, it's really most any tropical environment that.
For sure. But I want to deal with Jamaica, right? I want to deal with Jamaica, right? I mean, if they were able to actually legally export all the weed that they grow, the parts of that country that are in poverty wouldn't exist.
Right.
They would be like Dubai,
That's right.
right? If they could export weed. Nobody in the country would be poor, right? They'd probably give a stipend to everybody in the country. Each man get 2,000 J a month, or $2,000 a month. I'm serious.
Right.
Because there's no poor people in Dubai. Because they export oil.
That's right.
So by legalizing weed, you would be able to solve a lot of economic problems that are happening in these tropical countries that it would be to their benefit.
Miss Cheryl said that's why it would never happen. Thank you, Miss Cheryl.
There you go.
Very true.
But you know what? It'll never happen if we don't talk about it. You got to talk about it. You got to have the voice for it. There's a lot of things that people thought would never happen, and you're right. But if you keep talking about it and other people start talking about it, then people become aware about it.
That's right.
It'll never happen if you don't talk about it.
You got to talk about it.
So I'm just trying to bring up, you know, a logical point that I'm thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like, this would really solve. And you're right. You know, of course, it would, you know, they wouldn't want it to happen because the United States owns Jamaica, right? From an economic standpoint. So, no, they wouldn't want it to happen. But that's the reality of that.
Well, I think that the more discussions that we have and the more talk, like being able to talk about it, because I mean, I think there are a lot of people who think along the same lines. So being able to put the conversation out there and then come together, if you will, to make change.
But people are afraid.
Well,
People are afraid to speak.
here's the thing.
We have a forum and we're asking people to call in,
Well, I
and
know,
people are
but-
afraid. And there are people watching us in watch parties. I know because I have several watch parties set up, and I know one of the watch parties has over 60 people in it, but it'll show up as one person.
Right.
And in those groups, because after our shows, they get to talk to me,
Right.
they're afraid to talk. And they've said that. That's why you're not going to get the conversation out on the table. People are hiding behind things. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say that, see, I guess we have a different mentality here than over in Europe. Like in Europe, like when there's a problem, they go to the street and shut it down. You know, so, and I think here, you know, we're not like that. I mean, it took, you know, someone like Minister Farrakhan to call on like 1 million men to show up at Washington, D.C. But I mean, like, why it has to be just that? I mean, we have so many other issues where we could use that many people coming out.
And big shout out to Hong Kong, because in Hong Kong they had that.
Oh,
thing that
absolutely, that's right.
Okay,
That's
Gary.
sorry,
I know
sorry.
you're excited now. I know. I done hopped up Gary.
Now you've
Sorry,
become,
sorry.
it's okay, I love it.
Now you become me.
You're louder than him.
But the deal is, right? Hong Kong, big shout out to Hong Kong. It was simple, kind of what they were going through. They were talking about extraditing, you know, people to mainland China, but Hong Kong has always been separate from China. Hong Kong is not China.
Right. And most
Hong
people-
Kong was owned by the British. Most people think that Hong Kong is China. It is not China. Hong Kong is just Hong Kong. The British had Hong Kong for 100 years, and then they gave Hong Kong back to China. But Hong Kong was basically westernized, right? But if there's a problem, they take to the
They
streets.
take to the streets.
The Haitians, if the Haitians have a problem, they take to the streets. Their last 3 presidents, they actually went to the dude's house and got him out of the house. Who was the guy? Did they kick out? Was it Papa Doc that they did that?
Something
to?
like that, yeah.
I figured Esther would know this one.
I knew you would, but I was thinking of something else. I was lingering on something that he said prior to that and wanted to construct a way of saying it in a very diplomatic way, because I know I can start trouble with what I'm about to say.
It's the real discussion.
Well, the reality is that in the United States, I mean, I used to live overseas. You lived overseas. Car bombs and explosions every single day. The reality is, outside of 9/11, and in, what was it, 83 when they tried to hit the tower the first time?
Right.
93.
93, we are not subject to, Americans are spoiled.
Okay.
We don't have things that, everything they think is their right. You have the right to do this, you have the right to do that. This is my right. I should have this, I should have that. Around the world, it's not like that.
It's not right, that's true.
So they have a voice. They feel that they have to use their voice in order to fight and have the basics. We have more than the basics and don't even realize, comparatively to the rest of the world, what we have.
True.
So they don't look at it. There's nothing for them to fight for because everything is my right. You're infringing on my rights. At one point in England, you had to literally go stand on a soapbox in the park to have your voice heard and hope that you weren't arrested. Whereas here, people get on the subways and in the streets and do whatever hell they want, and they feel, why are you arresting me? I have the right to speak. People do not have the same rights that y'all have in the United States. So they are willing to speak up. Do you understand? You see where I'm going with this one? Okay, fine.
I get it.
Keep going.
So we don't have anything to really fight for here as a whoa, this is going to be dangerous. As a collective people, I'm not talking about groups, subgroups of people. As subgroups of people, we have much to fight for.
Right.
But they don't know how to fight. All right, let's go back. Our people. There's a lot of things that we should be fighting for, but because we were trained not to be organized, so we can't even organize ourselves to support as a community of people, much less fight as a community of people. I'm gonna leave that right there because that's a whole nother show in itself. But let's now go back to the people in the United States. Poverty, drug, what we're talking about right now. If they used their voices and spoke out what you're saying, as a collective voice, we could get forward. It's called here voting. That's how we use our voices. We see how that turned out the last major election.
I was just so anti that shit you just said. I was like, voting.
Yeah, I think voting is going to be another show.
We voted for Hillary Clinton
3
and
years.
She lost.
It's taken them 3 years to come to the conclusion that they should start a proceeding with a whistleblower to impeach. 3 years. For a man that we know that shouldn't have been there from day one, but okay, this is not a political show right now.
We will talk about that on another show.
I did say that I was going to touch on something and then keep it moving. In response to what you just said, collective voices are afraid. We don't have any real leaders anymore. We don't have any real leaders anymore. So who's going to speak? Who's going to march? Who's going to lead? Who's going to tell them we need to take the whole conversation this way? That's in response to what you were saying before. That's my response to what you were saying before. And that's, it's the real discussion, so I'm allowed to have a thought. Thank you very much.
There we go.
So we want to hear what you have to say. Please call us at
929-480-8478.
Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where else you going with this?
I mean, I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? I agree with what you said, and our voice is supposed to be heard when we do vote, when we do those things, and that's not really how it works. But I'm shouting out like all my weed smokers. You know what I'm saying? And I know you guys don't want to revolt against anything because you're always high. But the deal is this: put the goddamn pipe down for a day. Just put it down, man, and maybe go right to your congressman or go to City Hall, or all you guys go down there and really protest about the legalization of marijuana in the city. And I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Big shout out to Mayor de Blasio, who decriminalized the actual weed thing. Before, if you had a little weed on you, then you went to jail and all that, but now you can basically kind of walk out and smoke.
I'm sorry, what? Come back with that one. Give me what de Blasio did. Give me one good thing.
I just told you what he did was...
No. I want you to break it all the way down.
He decriminalized the marijuana. He made it that you would not go to jail if you had marijuana on you, if it was a small amount of marijuana. Basically, if you had a joint or you were smoking a blunt, you would get a $25 fine, but you would not go to jail, which is what people were doing before that.
What made you think that was de Blasio?
Because it was de Blasio.
It was Como.
So.
Okay, go ahead. I was trying to find something de Blasio, because I was a de Blasio voter, and I had backed away from him seriously because he acted a fool.
I have also,
but okay.
Because I think he's a maniac. So, all right, so then let me be clear. Hold on for a second. So de Blasio didn't do that for New York City.
That, as far
Cuomo
as
did it for New
I
York
know,
City. I'm just
it
asking.
was Cuomo.
Okay. Hey, if you're online, you do a little research, put it
Yeah,
in the
Google. Michelle,
Google that
Google
and
that.
find out what's up with that. Let's see who actually decriminalized the marijuana. All right, because
Because he
Rockefeller,
was supposed to do this history, and he didn't. So now you guys.
Rockefeller criminalized it in New York, right? It was a Rockefeller law.
The Rockefeller law,
So
yeah.
yes, it could very well have been Cuomo, but let's figure out who it was. If it was de Blasio or Cuomo.
Did you know in 1619 it was considered, marijuana was considered a poison? They had a tincture in a little bottle and everything. It was considered a poison.
1619.
Hmm.
That was a long time ago. Damn.
And then they re-released it again in 1850, and it was used like belladonna. If a woman had a period and she needed, to be relaxed from that, they would give belladonna instead. These were poisons, but the tincture of marijuana in 1850 was also again considered a poison.
I learned something new.
What do we got? We got a phone. We got a phone call.
Phone caller.
Take the call.
Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello, caller.
Caller.
Talk to us.
Can't hear you, can't hear you. What's up, Hanny?
So turn your volume down on your computer.
Is the caller speaking? Oh,
You're
okay.
not talking.
Hannibal's like, I don't know what's happening.
Are they there on the line? Okay.
Cool.
Try
All right.
try back again.
One more time.
We lost you.
So, yeah, I mean, let's figure that out. But yeah, what were you saying? What was the years and the statistics you were talking about? Up, call us
Call
back.
us back.
Call us back.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. I'm trying to hit it with my Barry White voice. Yeah. Nope, lost it.
Are you prank calling?
Lost it. That's payback for all the prank calls that me and
I
LG used to
guess
do.
so.
Me and LG used to call radio stations and say wild stuff all the time. So it was terrible. But so where were you at, Esther? A minute ago?
Cool.
You were saying ESP? Where were you at, ESP?
What was I? I was talking about it being a poison.
About it being a poison, yeah, which
In
was really crazy.
1619 and again in 1850, it was bottled and it was considered a poison.
Okay. Cool. I mean, once again, I just want to shoot this because I've had conversations with a lot of friends. But we got to figure out how we can really invest in this, like how we can get into the stock market. At least from that standpoint, we could try to make some money on this thing. And I've had this conversation with a few of my close friends about like, how can we get in? Like, how can we get in? That's why I wanted to really have the show. So we can kind of figure that out. If we can't grow it and if we can't open up our own store, then there's no law against us investing in it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've invested in the stock market periodically through time, simply based on what was going on. For instance, when we had the accident, when we had the terror attack on the World Trade Center, the airline stock tanked. It was in the garbage.
I remember that.
I see. It was Cuomo. Michelle said it was Cuomo.
It was Cuomo,
You
okay.
giving De Blasio props for shit he didn't even do.
Oh my God, that's just
Oh, I
shit.
said shit. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, yeah. So
I tell you, I've been around you too.
I remember the stock had crashed, basically, and I said, you know what, that stock's going to go back up, and I went and bought the stock for almost nothing. It was like $1 a share or something like that. And then when the airlines went back up to because no one was going to stop flying, you know what I'm saying. And once the stock went back up, I made a reasonable amount of money on it. Also made money on Guinness Stout. Guinness Stout was incredible. When Guinness Stout first came to the market, someone had told me, they said, hey, listen, Guinness Stout's on the market, and if you give me $5,000, I can turn that into 20 in about 4 months, which actually happened. So this is what I'm saying. We need to figure this out for the weed situation.
Okay. Because
We need to figure it out for the weed situation. That where can we invest, where can we put our money, and how this can be a long-term investment. And that's really what I want to do.
Well, I actually did, and I was hoping she would call in. I actually spoke to someone today who was going to talk to us about stock investing.
Oh, okay.
Because you can, and she has a portfolio as well, invest in it. In fact, I will be investing in it, and she's going to hold my hand to make sure, I do it properly. So if you hear me, and I'm not going to call your name, but I know you're listening to the show, do give us a call and let us know what's up because we want to talk to you.
Yeah, I think that would be great if she can come and do that. Call, give us some guidance, so on and so forth. And I'm good with that. That's kind of how I feel. So you have anything else on that paper right there?
I think we pretty much covered all of my notes, but like I said, you were supposed to do the history.
I mean, I basically got engaged into the history, and I talked about it, 1931, 36, the act, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? So I've gotten involved in that, and we can kind of freestyle it from here on out, baby.
Well, let me just say,
All $300 million.
Since Rock was talking about the investing in stock, well, let me just recap. There's a company called the 22nd Century Group.
How much is that per share?
They don't have it here, but they're on the New York Stock Exchange, MKT, NYSE MKT, and their stock symbol is XX11.
Okay. Call my broker.
The next company is Namaste Technologies. Their stock symbol, they're on the over-the-counter bulletin board, which is OTC, and it's NXTTF. The next company is True Leave Canova, TRULIEVE Cannabis, and they're also OTC, which is over the counter, and their stock symbol is TCNNF.
And we're going to post this all after the show so you can take a look at it, guys.
Yeah, snapshot that. That's dope.
The next company is Innovative Industrial Properties, and they're on the New York Stock Exchange.
That's the farm.
And that's IIPPR.
So I have a question.
Okay.
And I have a question to our listeners because we got a little flock going there. Even if you don't use it for medicinal purposes or for recreational purposes, my question to you at home is, and you can type or you can call, we really would like you to call so we can have a conversation. Would you invest in it? Whether you use it or not, whether it's for medicinal purposes or recreational purposes.
That's interesting.
Would you invest in it? And I'm speaking to Walter. Walter, call in, because I want to hear what you have to say.
That's a lot of soul searching, because you know what? Didn't really think about it from that perspective. Like, it's kind of funny. All right, so you know what? So you don't smoke it. You don't believe in it. You're like, I'm not going to smoke it. I'm not going to eat it like Rock Logic ate it, right? I'm not doing these things. But would you invest in it? Like, would you have any problem making any money off of it? I think that's an excellent question, really. You know what I'm saying? I think we invest in a lot of things that we don't use, and we don't even know we're investing in them. So,
I think that there are a lot of people who do have money and they invest in things that they probably don't care about, but if it's going to make them a ton of money, then they're going to do it.
But there are some people who have a moral dilemma in dealing with certain things. Like being in the industry, being in the acting industry, being in the commercial industry.
ESP, there's a phone call.
Let's take a phone call.
It's still not going.
Hello, caller.
Caller.
Why are we not hearing you? We're live. Could you speak up?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, we hear you trying to break through.
Hello?
Hey.
There we go. I'm sorry, Rock.
How are you?
We hear you.
Oh, we was hearing you. We can't hear you now.
Did Gary scare you away?
That was good.
We heard, hello?
Hello?
Yes,
Hello.
we are talking to you, yes, on the phone.
Great. This is Marguerite. Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Margie.
It's Marguerite. And I was calling in to contribute to the conversation, and you were at the point where you were talking about do you have to smoke to actually invest? That was the last thing I heard.
Well, as a moral dilemma, we were talking about some people have to believe in the products that they use and spend their money in the products that they use. My question was, if you're a non-smoker, I was asking the audience, if you're a non-smoker or a non-user for medicinal purposes, whether it's CBD oil or whatever, would you invest in it even if you weren't comfortable with using it? But you, I want to talk to for a whole different reason.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that I find that, I deal with trying to advise people as to what mutual funds and stocks are probably going to do well, what sectors do well. And I've never came across anyone who was, and there are people, so I'm not going to say that they're not out there. There are a lot of people that are out there. But I've never run across anybody who wanted to trade their moral values for not being able to make a buck. They kind of dismiss that part when they know that they can make a great deal of money in the market or in a particular sector. Some people do feel very strongly about animal rights and tobacco, but everybody that I've spoken to about cannabis, they're with it.
They're down.
Okay.
They're with it. I can make some money finally.
I mean, there are a series of pastors that I've spoken to that have said, we need to make money. I said, hey, why don't you try? And they're like, no, I don't want to, So that's why I was asking. And I said also a moral and spiritual dilemma for certain people. That those really are people that I'm talking to as well. They think it's a sin. But you know what? You and I have talked about the investment part of that. Do you invest?
I do. I have a portfolio of stocks, and one of them is a Canadian cannabis stock.
Mm-hmm.
And the market, for this year, the market is up, but the last quarter, you know that it's been very tumultuous. But it is the one stock that I have that I'm still making money on. It dipped a little bit, but overall, it's performed over 20% this
That's
year.
excellent.
Investing in weed.
And for the home audience, is it a terribly expensive thing? I mean, it's
$4.
well, there you go.
What? Marguerite, I'm sorry. Can you give me that number again?
It was $4 a share when I bought. No, let me back up. When I first bought this stock, it was I think $12, and then the stock split.
Mm-hmm.
Before the stock split, I bought it at 12. It went as high as 21, and then I sold the profit and kept the remaining stock. Then the stock split, and I got twice as much. So it's been up and down, but mostly up.
Mm-hmm.
But out of my entire portfolio, it is the one steady upward stock of performance.
And when you first got it, it was $4 a share.
When I first purchased the stock,
Yeah.
it was $12 a share.
Okay.
It went as high as $21 a share within, I want to say, between December and March of 2018.
Okay.
Then in June of 2018, that particular company, the stock split. When it split, the price is reduced.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they give you twice as many shares to make sure that you're still whole. So when the stock split, it was at $4, and from there, last week I think I checked it, and it was at almost $7 a share. So I'm still making money off of that stock.
Were you using a broker, or is this something you did yourself? Because there's a lot of things that you can do online to do investing. How
I
did
did
you
it
do?
myself.
Okay.
I did it myself. As soon as a particular company, well, what was happening is that I was hearing a lot of financial advisors talking about, getting involved in the cannabis sector.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a little bit of research, not a lot. I just like the idea of it because once it became legal, I knew that it was going to go up, So this was a prime example of being there at the beginning stages of something that I mean, think about it. If you could invest in Apple in 1970, wouldn't you have done it?
Oh, of course.
So that's kind of where I was with that, So I just did a little bit of research, but because it was so cheap, I figured I'd just take a chance, and it didn't disappoint me at
Okay,
all.
was there a particular .com or anything that you would direct people to right now if they wanted to look at it or invest in it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can do it yourself. I use E-Trade. It's super
E-Trade.
simple.
E-Trade, I know.
Trade costs like $7. They have Intel so that you can, do research. It's very simple. They have so many apps that give the regular person, the regular Joe Schmo, access to stock market stocks, the S&P. But all in terms of investing in cannabis, you just need to type that into the search bar. They'll bring up whatever stocks are available. Mostly the stocks that are available with cannabis are in Canada.
That's
Because it's legal there, I guess.
Yep.
It's not a federal, whatever the restrictions are here in the U.S. So most of the cannabis companies are from Canada. And just take a leap of faith and invest. It's not a whole lot of money. All of the cannabis stocks that I've seen are less than $10 a share.
Wow.
You heard it
To me,
here first,
it's
people.
worth the risk.
E-Trade. Take a look.
Put down your 40 ounce.
Well, see,
Marguerite,
For a
thank you
six pack
so
of
much.
beer, you can be rich. Don't drink.
But you know what it is? You just got to figure out a way where if we do all have money that you're not using right now. I'm not saying that you won't eventually use it, but while it's sitting, why not have it make money for you? You're going to need that, boost of interest, because of inflation. $1 today is going to be worth 25 cents in 10 years. So you got to figure out a way to outpace inflation.
Right.
Well,
Why
I mean,
not
even-
cannabis stocks?
There are people that are even using those apps like Acorn, and where they kind of round up the dollar and take money off, and then they put money to the side. Go on your Acorn, see how much you have, and there is a stock portfolio on Acorn that you can actually go to E-Trade, figure out what the call letters are after you, as she said, type in cannabis, decide what you want, and once you get those call letters, you can take your Acorn money and invest in that. This is pocket change you're talking about.
And I just want to be clear
It
about
is pocket change. And I love the concept of Acorn where they take your change
I'm so with you.
and you can invest it. It's so easy and painless.
I didn't have to go there.
You're going to make him do a whole show on that now.
No, because she's right. Because
But you know what? Listen, a lot
Go
of us
ahead.
struggle with being able to
save.
money,
Save, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if there's a way where you can be forced into saving, why not?
Exactly.
Marguerite.
Yes.
Yeah, I have Acorn. I do the Acorn. I do it, and what happened was ESP was like this.
Why do you have
ESP,
Acorn?
ESP was like, you need to try this Acorn thing out. And I was like, I'm not messing no damn Acorn. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was a President Obama thing, Acorn.
I was going to make him pluck him off a tree.
I'm Acorn, right? So I go in and I sign up for the Acorn thing, and I said, all right, it's going to it's going to do these roundups, right? So if you spend $1.25, then it'll take the 25 and it'll put it into the account, So
Right.
I didn't fool around with it, and I didn't pay no attention, and you don't even realize that the money's even coming out of your account, right? So one day, I was in a little bit of a snafu, you know what I'm saying? So I said, let me see what's in this stupid ass Acorn account. I was dissing Acorn, right? So I think I did this in January, and it was about like May, right? And I go and I said, $500. $500. Oh, sweat. I could pay a bill now. You know what I'm saying? It was like,
Mind you, I have not gotten a thank you yet, but okay.
and it was like that little bit of change.
You off a 10 or a 20 just for thinking.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
Like,
Idea, right?
I didn't even feel it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even feel it. And then when you go to check, and then all of a sudden it's like you actually have a substantial amount of money, and you're like, damn, okay, look at that. And unfortunately, I haven't used it as an investment account. I've used it more so as like a savings account. You know what I'm saying? So if I get jammed up anywhere,
But that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay. But what the the good thing about it is that a lot of the times we often say, I can't save. I can't save.
Correct.
I can't save.
Correct.
You can save.
Yes, you
but
can.
if you have to use psychology on yourself to be able to get to that, then that's an accomplishment in itself. Now the next thing you want to do is challenge yourself to actually invest that money and not use it.
Right.
Because honestly speaking, you didn't even realize you had it. The only reason now that you're talking about is $500 because you looked. The only reason you have $500 is because you never looked at it.
There you
Correct.
go.
Yeah.
And I continue that philosophy. I don't look at it I just leave it and just kind of let it sit until I can figure out, And once again, because I like something that you said, it was either ESP or it was you. You said everyone has money that they're not using,
She said that.
right? And that's the God's honest truth. It's just that
It
you
is.
don't realize that there's money that you're not using until you open up an Acorn type of account. And then
Right.
that money builds up, and it's like, oh, sweat, there's the money that I wasn't using. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Money that you swore up and down. You know how many times it enrages me when people say, oh, I can't do it, I'm broke. Don't say you're broke. Don't put that in the atmosphere. You're
Right.
not broke.
You're
You just
financially
have to figure
impaired.
out a way where you can manage whatever money that you have efficiently. And we can all figure it out. You just have to figure out what works for you.
I think the next buildup I have, I'm going to take that money and then I'm going to go invest in the cannabis.
Cannabis
There
and
you
beer.
go. There you go.
This is what he's
But
going to
if I
invest
may
in.
put
I think
my
you're right.
financial
Yeah, I'm gonna
advisor hat on, you want to diversify. You don't want to just do cannabis.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do, before I get it in,
Cannabis and beer.
I'm going to call you, Marguerite. I'm going to call you and be like, yo, all right, let's create a stock portfolio. Because I want to move into something a little bit different now, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm getting older. I know that I need to do a retirement fund for myself. I need to do
Okay,
that.
wrong show.
No, I'm
Save-
not there. I'm not there.
I know. We're
I know.
talking about cannabis, you
I know,
guys.
I'm sorry.
And we thank you
But you
so
can
much
call
for
me,
chiming in.
Call
You're
me,
so
call me.
wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. Who's the one who used to say that all the time? Call me, I'll tell you your future. What was that? Who was the name?
Call me now. Didn't she die?
What's
That was
that
another
lady's
show.
name? She just passed away, too. What's
Yeah.
her name?
Miss Cleo.
Flo?
Yes.
Something?
Miss Cleo, Miss Cleo.
yes.
Miss Cheryl is my fact checker. Miss Cheryl, who used to go call me now?
Miss Cleo.
Call
Yeah,
me.
it was Miss Cleo?
Yeah, it was Miss
Okay.
Cleo, yeah.
All right.
That's how you sounded, Marguerite, just now. You're like, call me now, and I tell you your future.
I did that on purpose.
I know.
You're listening to The Real Discussion, where we make you do work for us. So, fact checking all of the things that we say. We have Marguerite on the phone talking to us about the investing in cannabis. Please do give us a call at 929-480-8478. And let's chat.
So I don't want to. I'm gonna swing a little bit left. You know what I'm saying? Because something happened today that was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. So I was working with a friend of mine who
You
actually
want
works
Marguerite on for this?
I mean, she can stay on.
Okay.
Because it's sort of a night shift
Oh,
thing.
I'm going to hang up and watch the show, if that's okay, okay?
Okay, that's cool. All right.
All right, babe. Thanks for calling
Because I
in.
want to see y'all while you're talking. Thanks.
All right,
see you.
sweetie.
So we had this. So we had talked about this night shift thing.
Right.
So I actually got. What's interesting enough is I got the inner workings of how they do this thing in terms of money. So there's a company, right, called Related, right? And Related is a real estate company, right? And Related owns properties all over the city. Now, matter of fact, that whole West Side Highway thing that you see all those buildings, that's all Related, right? But what you don't know about Related is this. Related also owns a lot of low-income housing all over the city. So here's what they do. This is what they do, right? They take the money or the profit from the low-income housing and they invest it in the high-income housing.
In the high income, yeah.
They take the money from the poor people and invest it into the rich people. This is what they're doing, right? So all that Section 8 money that they're getting, the profit from the Section 8, the profit from the Section 8, they're taking that and then reinvesting that into the high rises. And here's their rule, all right? The rule for them is this. They will, the maintenance programs that they have in the low-income housing, right? They do the bare minimum state requirement
That's right.
to maintain the properties. Versus their other properties that they have, the luxury condos and stuff they have, if someone goes, oh, there's a crack in the sidewalk, guess what? They're called, oh my God, there's a crack in the sidewalk. We don't want it to turn into anything crazy. So, but how crazy is that? First of all, I didn't know that they owned a ton of low-income housing. You know what I'm saying? And they are huge, huge. I've been to their offices under, for another reason. I've been to their offices. And it was incredible for me when I went. I just thought they did like the West Side Highway planning, because they basically built up all of that. That's them. But I was wrong. That money that you see when you drive past the West Side Highway got pulled out of the ghetto.
See.
You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to bring that back, because when we do this, when we revisit this NYCHA thing, that's got to be really part of the conversation. And I'm waiting on Stan.
Absolutely.
I think this week what's supposed to happen is I'm supposed to actually go into the meeting with Stan, with the NYCHA people, to kind of sit with them and sort of lay down some predetermined rules on what we can talk about and won't talk about, right? And unfortunately, I mean, it's the real discussion, baby. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was just going to say. You always tell me, don't censor yourself. It's the real discussion.
It's the real discussion. So I'm never, listen, my time is tight. My time is short. I'm never going to not speak up, for the injustices that go on, just because you want to be comfortable. The whole part of my conversation is to make you very uncomfortable, because you're making people very uncomfortable, and I'm going to make your ass uncomfortable. Now, if you got balls, you come on the show, we kick it, you understand what I'm saying? And then we go to work.
That's right.
But the idea is, I always want people to come on the show that if you have an opposing view from me, prove me wrong. I want to be wrong, because I want to think that the world is a great place.
Well, you're wrong all the time.
Yeah, right. I'm always right. That's why they call it the real. That's why they call me rock logic. You know why?
No,
Because I'm logical. Okay,
Oh, boy,
and I'm
here we
always
go.
right. Okay, but that's what I want. You know what I'm saying? I want you to come on with your opposing view and go ahead and prove me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Let's have the debate. In this country, we're afraid to debate anymore. Nobody wants to debate. There aren't any debaters. So you come on and you debate me.
So, but why does it have to be about proving wrong? Let's just have a conversation.
Because
let's just hear what the other side has to say.
Oh yeah, no. But it is for me about proving me wrong, because I have a very strong opinion about it.
You have a very strong opinion about cotton balls.
Correct,
come on.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? If I want to get into cotton balls and Q-tips, I got a strong opinion about that. So I'm just saying, you come on with that opposing, and these guys are coming with an opposing view. So I want them to come on and understand that, I'm not going to wear kid gloves. You know what I'm saying? I'll be as cool as I can, but that moment's going to hit when I'm going to be like, come on, we off to the races, let's go, because I have to say it and I have to address it.
And that's NYCHA.
And that's the NYCHA thing.
Okay, but we've got so much stuff. We've got the basketball show. We're going to talk about mentoring. We want to talk about music mentoring.
Oh, mentoring is big.
Yeah, that mentoring show, the mentoring show.
What? The show, we have a big show with domestic violence, and
yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
guys, you got to call in for that one. That one's going to be.
That's going to be phenomenal, because what happened was they're doing an actual exhibit in the Oculus down by the World Trade Center. They built a house inside the Oculus.
Wow.
Right, and in there, they're showing real actors going through domestic violence.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's a full interactive. You walk through the house.
You really should take a look at it. What did
Yeah.
you say was at the end of this month?
Yeah, no, it started today, and I think it's running till the end of October, and it's right in. You can't miss it. There's a house in the middle of the Oculus.
Okay.
There's a house in the middle of the Oculus, so that's what's going on with that. And then also I'm going to do that boxing show with Richard Burton, right? Not the actor. Richard Burton, who was also a boxer.
Still alive?
Yes. No, yeah, Richard Burton. Yeah, I'm not sure, but Rich was a boxer, and there's an organization now that takes care of boxers, older boxers, through health care and food and money, and they've created their own organization. So, big shout out to Richard Burton. And if you don't know who Richard Burton is that's my friend who was my bully, Robert Burton's brother.
Right.
So he's coming on.
This bully comes up in every conversation.
'Cause that's
but
my
you know what?
main
It's a
man.
running theme. And if you just tuned in, what we're talking about is future shows, because we always tell you what we're going to do, because we want to hear what your input would be. And I admonish you all the time. And I have one favorite one favorite viewer who goes there after every show and he types every idea that comes to his head. That's Xavier. He types every idea for a show, and we love it because we are going to do a show on when marriage changes, the happy ever after is over, and would you marry for, is marrying for love or marrying for status something that still exists in this era, in this time period? That's another show he suggested. And May December Romances. Apparently, we have a lot to do with love shows coming up.
Yeah,
as I said, the mentoring show. We're also going to do a financial planning show.
oh yeah, with Eric Knapp.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that coming up.
Then we have the criminal justice.
Oh,
We have to get our nerves together for the criminal justice
life
show.
inside of Sparkford as the juvenile criminal justice system, and we have actually people from that worked at Spofford, because Spofford is closed now. They're coming in to actually talk about really what was happening to the kids that were in Spofford and what they were subjected to. And then there's also an organization out on Long Island. I can't remember the name. It's two ladies that run it, but they deal with juvenile delinquency from the standpoint of the intake, right, and how they actually get into the Spockfords.
Yeah, because people don't realize that this system, even the school system, is designed to pick certain children up and get them into the incarceration system.
That's right.
100%.
That's right.
So it's going to be a really interesting show, especially if you have young men and women that you're raising. That's an important show. But we also, once again, want to hear what you want to talk about. And we want you to pick up the phone and call us and be our guests. We're going to be starting to give away stuff soon.
Yeah, I heard somebody's
excited
giving us
about
stuff to give away, like
that.
tickets and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good about that.
It's a
starting-
surprise.
Starting to sound like a real radio show here.
I'm trying to tell you.
It's a surprise.
This is we're gonna be
How could I forget?
What?
We just picked up a new sponsorship.
Oh yeah, so So we're already on. Let me see this list because I always forget the list. So we're already on Facebook Live, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Why does he say
Google
Spotify?
Podcast. Spotify. I said Spotify.
You said fly.
All right, leave me alone. YouTube, TuneIn, and Anchor Podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So now I just talked to the Universal Hip Hop Museum, and they're going to start broadcasting our shows on Universal Hip Hop Museum /365 Live, and they have a real big international following.
That's right. Big shout out to Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky Buchanan.
That's right.
LG.
LG. Yeah.
I gotta go to Rocky's birthday party tomorrow. Man, tomorrow's a busy day.
I can't go. It's Comic-Con.
I'm going to Comic-Con.
I was trying to get to Comic-Con yesterday, man.
It's a
Damn.
busy day. So yeah, so we got picked up by that, so that was nice. They heard a
Excellent.
lot of the material. They already heard the other shows, so we're gonna send the audio to them for those shows. And once again, they have a big international fan base.
And we have a lot of secret listeners that we know who they are, but you and people who are typing, they might type back at some point. We have some big wigs that listen.
Absolutely. That's right.
Because I mean, I think the idea at the end of the game for the show, and someone asked me this the other day, the end game really is to end up on Sirius. You know what I'm saying? That is really the end game. You know, the end game is to end up on satellite, to be able to do the podcast on satellite. That is our end game.
That's
and
right.
That's where I'm at with it.
That's right.
I think we should be rocking some bells.
I think we should be rocking some bells.
LL.
Let me just say
LL.
one more thing when it comes to
Todd.
the investing. So I want y'all to go to Stash Invest, and Stash, the app, it has investing in marijuana for beginners, and they walk you
Nice.
through it.
My man.
They walk you through it. So y'all can't say we didn't tell you nothing.
Damn, Gary's ass is loud.
And listen, what you want? One time you telling the man drop the mic because you can't hear him. Now he's speaking up.
Word up. And
You be as loud as you want.
Listen, Stash, baby.
StashInvest.com.
And then you have E-Trade as well.
E-Trade. That's
So
right.
you know what? Try them out and let us know
Yeah.
next week.
Or hit on the page. Like
And
hit on the
us,
page.
yeah, talk to us, talk.
Talk on the page. We're always on the page. The Real Discussion with Rock Logic, right, is the Facebook page. We're always there. We're always monitoring.
That's
it.
right.
And if you're doing the E-Trade thing, if you just type onto the page, let us know how it's going. you know, and we'll give you some pointers or whatever. But you know, we really want to know. It's totally an inactive situation. So you know what, gang? I'm ready to get out of here.
Okay.
I'm ready to cut out. So if there's because what do we got?
So
like
what are
4
your
minutes
final
left?
remarks?
My
Final
remarks. Oh, well, what are my final remarks? My final remarks are, my final remarks. What do I want to talk about?
Well, before you say that,
Go ahead. What?
some of the,
Damn, nigga.
some of the,
Go ahead.
Listen, I would
Some
prefer,
of the
you gentlemen
information-
need to watch your language
Go ahead.
now.
some of the information that we spoke about will be posted up on our page. So you'll be able to see some of the information in terms of the companies and things like that will be posted up on our page by tomorrow.
Probably by tonight, but you know what? We'll give you all the information. And if you want something specific, you heard something specific, type it, and we'll hit you specifically in your mailbox with that information. But we're gonna put everything up. Okay.
So here's the deal on a final note.
I
Remember,
want- close it.
I'm gonna close it out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's Friday night, and I want to go hang out. And I'm trying to go to the
Yeah.
cigar bar. My man Lazy Lays at the cigar bar. He chilling. I want to go there and chill. You know what I'm saying? So on the final note, remember, when you want to bring about change, was there something supposed to happen after that? Oh, listen, when you want to bring about change, ...
Call us. We'll help you stir up the pot.
There you go. That's right. There you go. I don't see that on the rest of this, Esther. It's not here.
Thank
ESP.
you for joining us on the
ESP, it's
real
not here.
discussion.
We'll see y'all next
Have
week.
a great night. See you next week.
All right.